The C-SPAN Civics bus is traveling the country, visiting libraries, bookstores, festivals, and authors. Here are some of the people and places we visited.
We're here at the Lexington Public Library's Beaumont branch with Bob Sloan. You often write short stories about life in Appalachia, but tell us about the true story that's accounted in Valley of the Shadow.
There was a feud in the county, in Rowan County, where I'm from, that occurred back in the 1880s. And my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, my dad's dad, was born in 1877. The feud lasted from about 1884 to 1887, depending on who you talk to. So I grew up hearing firsthand accounts of some of this. My grandfather was friends with one of the principals in this thing. Everybody knows about the Hatfields and McCoys and some of the other feuds. The Rowan County feud, the Tolliver Martin War, they call it, was absolutely the bloodiest and most significant of all of the East Kentucky vendettas, the mountain feuds. Nobody knows about it. Because when it was over, or when the worst part of it was over, a meeting was held after one day, in which about 10 people were killed. Basically, one side invaded Morehead, Kentucky, and killed all the leaders of the other side. A meeting was held, and people decided, we won't talk about this ever. And they didn't. So it's kind of like hidden history. But the militia was called in to occupy Morehead 3 times. The legislature seriously considered abolishing Rowan County as a political entity because they thought that would be one way to end it. But it's for anyone who cares about feuds or is interested in the history of these hills, it's a wonderful story. I mean, and it's just it's one that nobody knows. You know, nobody outside of Rowan County, hardly anybody knows about it. And even in the county, I talked to a young man a while back whose great-great-grandfather was one of the primary players in this thing. And I asked this young guy, I said, what do you know about the Rowan County feud? And he said, what? And the other thing that is most significant, I'll get through this real quick, but it's probably most significant about the feud. A guy named Frank Button from back east somewhere brought his mother, Phoebe, to Morehead when this thing was over to, quote, civilize the child of the mountaineer. And they started something called the Morehead Normal School. They started the Morehead College, which became the Morehead Normal School, which became Morehead State University, which has had this enormous impact on Rowan County and Morehead. So out of this horrible feud came some very good things, but that's the feud.
What's unique about the people and life in Appalachia?
You know, that is a good question. There's an organization in an adjoining county. Every now and then they call me up, especially in the summertime, and they are in the business of bringing kids down here from all over the place. They do a little work. They'll go out and maybe put a roof on some old guy's house that can't afford to do it himself, something like that. And they bring 30, 40 kids, sometimes 80 kids to my house. And we always have a big bonfire. And then what I'm supposed to do is talk to them about history and tell them some stories. And one of the things in this great homogenization of society that's going on, kids eat the same stuff. Kids, I don't care where you're at, they go to McDonald's, they listen to MTV, they watch the same TV shows. So they're pretty much the same, you know, with 80 kids and maybe 15 or 20 of them from Eastern Kentucky. You line them up, a person would be hard pressed to pick out those, you know, who's from these mountains, until you start asking questions. And a killer question I found is if you ask these kids, what was your great-grandfather's name? Kids from down here tend to know that. If you ask them, how many of you have been to your great-great-grandfather's grave or your great-grandfather's grave? The kids from Eastern Kentucky will raise their hands. We are, I think, more connected to the land and the history than other places. I won an award one time. I'll brag a little bit. I won a Faulkner Award, and a guy named Hal Crowther, great writer, who judged that particular contest, said that we were an ancestor worshiping society, and that really surprised me. But I think that's the difference. We have this familial hook that I think is a lot stronger than other places. And we know where our great-grandparents are.
Well, thank you for spending time with us today.
Sure.
You can view Book TV programs, sign up for a weekly email of our schedule, and learn about upcoming programs at booktv.org. You can click on the Viewer Input tab and email us. Tell us what you're reading and what you think of our programs.